The shocking betrayal. Welcome to Heartbound Ashes. Welcome to my channel Heartbound Ashes. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The message that destroyed everything. The champagne glass slipped from Natalie Morgan's fingers, shattering against the marble floor of the penthouse suite in slow motion, just like her entire world. On her phone screen, the video played again, the automated timestamp mocking her. Uploaded 20 minutes ago. Her fiancé, David Ashford, the man she was supposed to marry in exactly 2 weeks, was kissing another woman. Not just any woman, her best friend since childhood, Claire Bennett. But it wasn't just a kiss. It was the way his hands cradled Claire's face with a tenderness Natalie recognized, because it had once belonged to her. It was the way Claire's fingers tangled in his hair with a familiarity that spoke of countless stolen moments. And it was the caption beneath the video that truly broke her. Finally, we don't have to hide anymore. She'll find out soon enough. The video had been posted on a private Instagram account, one that Natalie had only discovered by accident when a mutual acquaintance had sent her a screenshot, asking if she knew about David's other relationship. The account was filled with photos, months of photos. David and Claire at restaurants Natalie recognized, wearing outfits she remembered them wearing on nights they claimed to be elsewhere. Claire wearing a necklace that David had told Natalie he'd returned because it wasn't quite right. David's hand on Claire's lower back in the exact possessive way he used to touch Natalie. 6 months. They'd been together for at least 6 months, maybe longer. Natalie stood frozen in the penthouse that David had insisted they rent for their engagement party. An extravagant celebration planned for tomorrow night with 200 guests, including her entire family, David's wealthy parents, and everyone who mattered in their social circle. The caterers were confirmed. The flowers were ordered. The custom engagement announcement was ready to go to the New York Times. Her phone buzzed with incoming messages. Word was spreading fast. Her younger sister, Emma. Nat, please tell me this isn't real. Please tell me you didn't see it. Her mother. Natalie Rose Morgan, call me immediately. Your father and I need to speak with you about this situation. A number she didn't recognize. You deserve better. I've known about them for weeks but didn't know how to tell you. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Melissa from David's office. But it was the message from Claire that made Natalie's blood run cold. We need to talk. I can explain everything. It's not what you think. Please, Nat, 20 years of friendship has to mean something. 20 years. Claire had been her best friend since they were 8 years old. They'd shared everything. First days of school, first heartbreaks, college roommates, career struggles. Claire had been the one to introduce her to David at a charity gala 3 years ago. Claire had been the first person Natalie had called when David proposed on that rooftop in Paris. Claire was supposed to be her maid of honor. The betrayal from David was devastating. The betrayal from Claire was annihilating. Natalie's hands trembled as she opened her messages and typed a response to Claire. The Riverside Cafe. 1 hour. You have exactly 5 minutes to explain before I ruin both your lives. Then she called the one person she knew would understand. Her godmother, Patricia Winters, a successful divorce attorney who had built her career on cases of infidelity and betrayal. Natalie, darling. Patricia's smooth voice came through the phone. I just saw. Are you all right? No, Natalie said, surprised by how steady her voice sounded despite the tears streaming down her face. But I will be. Patricia, I need your help. Not legal advice, not yet. I need strategy. I need to know how to make them pay for this. There was a pause. Then Patricia's voice came back, sharper now, approving. Come to my office. Right now. We have planning to do. The confrontation. The Riverside Cafe was nearly empty at 3 in the afternoon. Just the exhausted lunch staff cleaning tables and a few remote workers nursing cold coffee. Natalie arrived first, choosing a table in the back corner where she could see the entrance. She'd changed from her casual clothes into a tailored black suit, armor for what was coming. Claire walked in exactly on time, her designer bag clutched to her chest like a shield. She'd been crying, her mascara slightly smudged despite obvious attempts to fix it. Good. Natalie wanted her to suffer. Wanted her to feel even a fraction of the pain currently tearing through her own chest. Nat, Claire began, reaching for her. Sit down, Natalie commanded, her voice ice. And don't touch me. You have 5 minutes. Start talking. Claire collapsed into the chair across from her, hands shaking as she clasped them on the table. It wasn't supposed to happen. I swear, Natalie, I never meant for any of this. When did it start? Claire's eyes dropped. 8 months ago. 8 months. 2 months before David had proposed. Natalie felt something crack inside her chest, but she kept her face perfectly neutral. Patricia had coached her on this. Show no weakness, gather information, stay in control. How? Natalie asked flatly. Do you remember when you went to that conference in Seattle? The medical conference for your hospital. Claire's voice was barely above a whisper. David called me, said he was lonely, asked if I wanted to grab dinner. I thought it was innocent. We'd done it before, the three of us were always together. But that night he told me things. He said he loved you but wasn't in love with you anymore. He said you were more like a business partner than a romantic partner. He said he'd made a mistake proposing, but didn't know how to take it back without destroying you. The lies were so smooth, so perfectly constructed, that Natalie almost believed them herself for a split second. Almost. And you believed him? Natalie asked. 20 years of friendship, and you believed him over me? He was so convincing, Claire said, tears spilling over now. And Nat, I've been in love with him since the moment I introduced you to. I spent 3 years watching you have everything I wanted. The perfect relationship, the perfect proposal, the perfect life. When he said he wanted me instead, I convinced myself it was fate. That maybe I'd introduced you to because deep down, I knew he was meant for me all along. The confession should have hurt more. But Natalie felt oddly numb, like she was watching this conversation happen to someone else. Why didn't you just tell me? Natalie asked. If he really didn't want to marry me, why not be honest? Claire's face crumpled. Because he wanted both. He wanted you for your family's connections, your father's hospital board position, your mother's social network. He wanted me for everything else. He said after the wedding, after a respectable amount of time, he'd divorce you and we could be together openly. He made it sound so reasonable, like everyone would understand eventually. Natalie laughed, a bitter sound that made Claire flinch. You're even more naive than I thought. I know that now, Claire whispered. When I saw the video got leaked, when I realized people were seeing us, I knew it was over. David's furious. He thinks I posted it on purpose to force his hand, but I swear I didn't. Someone must have hacked the account. Natalie, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please. Where is David right now? Natalie interrupted. At his apartment. Planning damage control with his father. They're trying to figure out how to spin this, probably going to claim it was old photos or that the video was manipulated or... They're going to blame me, aren't they? Natalie said quietly. Paint me as the crazy, jealous fiancé who couldn't handle David having female friends. Claire's silence was answer enough. Natalie stood up, smoothing down her suit jacket. Thank you for your honesty. It's about 6 months too late, but better than nothing. What are you going to do? Claire asked, fear creeping into her voice. Natalie smiled, and it was not a kind expression. I'm going to give you and David exactly what you deserve. But first, I'm going to make sure everyone knows the truth. The real truth, not whatever fiction David's father's PR team is cooking up. Natalie, please. I'll lose my job. David will. You should have thought about that before you slept with my fiancé. Natalie leaned down, her voice dropping to a whisper. 20 years of friendship, Claire. You threw it away for a man who was using both of us. So no, I don't feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for the girl I used to be, the one who trusted you with everything. But that girl is gone now. And what's left? What's left is someone you really don't want to cross. She walked out of the cafe without looking back, ignoring Claire's sob behind her. The strategy. Patricia's office was all glass and steel, with a view of Central Park that cost more per month than most people's mortgages. Natalie had been here countless times for lunch meetings and casual visits, but never as a client. Never as a woman scorned. Tell me everything, Patricia said, pouring them both generous glasses of scotch despite the early hour. And I mean everything. Every detail, every suspicion, every financial entanglement. Leave nothing out. For the next 2 hours Natalie talked. She explained how she'd met David at the charity gala, how charming he'd seemed, how he'd pursued her with an intensity that had felt romantic at the time but now seemed calculated, how he'd moved into her apartment after a year, claiming his lease was up and it made financial sense, how he'd started using her family connections for his real estate development business, getting introductions to investors and city officials through her father. She explained the joint bank account they'd opened for wedding expenses, which David had insisted on managing, the credit cards in both their names, the investment property they'd bought together in the Hamptons, though David had handled all the paperwork and she'd never actually seen the deed. Patricia took notes, her expression growing darker with each revelation. "Natalie," she said finally, "I need you to understand something. David isn't just a cheater. He's a con artist. A sophisticated one, but a con artist nonetheless. Everything he's done has been designed to entangle your finances with his, to gain access to your family's wealth and influence, and to position himself as the victim if things fell apart." "What do you mean?" Patricia pulled out a file folder. "I did some preliminary research while you were meeting with Claire. David Ashford has done this before. 3 years ago, he was engaged to a woman named Jennifer Hartley, daughter of a prominent hedge fund manager. The engagement ended abruptly, with David claiming she'd been unfaithful. She didn't fight the narrative because she was embarrassed and wanted to move on quickly. But I have a friend who represented her in the settlement, and the story sounds remarkably familiar." Natalie's stomach turned. "He's done this before? Probably more than twice. He finds women with money and connections, sweeps them off their feet, embeds himself in their lives, and then either marries them for access to their assets or orchestrates a breakup where he comes out looking like the wronged party. In Jennifer's case, she paid him $50,000 just to go away quietly. Why didn't anyone warn me? Because he's smart. He spaces out his targets, chooses women from different social circles, and relies on the fact that most women don't want to publicly discuss being conned. It's embarrassing, it's painful, and society has conditioned us to feel shame about being deceived." Natalie drained her scotch. "So what do I do?" Patricia smiled, and it was the expression of a predator spotting prey. "We burn his life to the ground. Legally, publicly, and completely. But we need to be smart about it. If we go after him directly, his father's money and lawyers will bury us in litigation. We need leverage, information that's so damaging he can't spin it, can't hide from it, can't pay his way out of it. How do we get that? We already have some of it. The joint accounts, the property in the Hamptons. I'm willing to bet if we dig into those we'll find fraud. Forged signatures, misappropriated funds. But we need more. We need his other victims to come forward. We need documentation of his pattern of behavior. And we need to move fast, before his father's PR machine rewrites this story." Natalie felt something stirring in her chest, something that felt almost like hope. "What do you need me to do?" "First, don't cancel the engagement party tomorrow night. In fact, I want you to go ahead with it exactly as planned." "What?" "Patricia, I can't." "Yes, you can," Patricia said firmly. "Because tomorrow night, in front of everyone who matters, you're going to tell your story. The real story. And you're going to have proof to back up every single word. By the time that party ends, David Ashford's reputation will be destroyed, his business connections will be gone, and every woman he's ever conned will know she's not alone. He'll sue me for defamation. Let him try. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, and we're going to make sure every word you say is documented, verified, and ironclad. Besides, once his other victims start coming forward, he'll be too busy defending himself to come after you." Natalie stood up and walked to the window, looking out over the city. Somewhere down there, David was with his father, planning how to make himself the victim. Somewhere out there, Claire was probably crying, feeling sorry for herself. And somewhere in this city, there were other women who'd been hurt by David's schemes, women who thought they were alone. "Okay," Natalie said, turning back to Patricia. "Let's do it. Let's destroy him." Patricia raised her glass. "To revenge," served cold and absolutely devastating. "To revenge," Natalie echoed. And as she drank, she felt the numbness that had protected her begin to crack, replaced by something fiercer, something stronger. David and Claire had taken her trust, her love, her carefully planned future. But they'd made one critical mistake. They'd underestimated her. And now they were going to pay for it in ways they couldn't even imagine. The plan takes shape. That evening, Natalie returned to her apartment. Her apartment, not the penthouse, not any space she shared with David. She'd bought this place with her own money, kept it as a retreat, and suddenly she was grateful for that choice. David had a key, but she'd already called a locksmith. Her sister Emma was waiting in the lobby, along with two other women Natalie hadn't expected to see. Her cousin Rachel and her college friend Simone. All three of them looked ready for war. "We're not letting you go through this alone," Emma announced. "And before you say you're fine, don't. I saw your face in that video when David proposed to you. I saw how happy you were. So no, you're not fine, and you don't have to pretend to be." Something in Natalie's carefully maintained composure finally broke, and she found herself crying for the first time since seeing the video. Not quiet, dignified tears, but gasping, painful sobs that came from somewhere deep and wounded. Her sister and friends surrounded her, holding her up, letting her fall apart in a way she hadn't allowed herself to do in Patricia's office or at the cafe with Claire. When the storm finally passed, they sat in Natalie's living room, and she told them everything. Patricia's discoveries about David's past, the plan for tomorrow's engagement party, the decision to expose him publicly rather than slink away quietly. "I'm in," Rachel said immediately. "Whatever you need, I'm there." "Same," Simone agreed. "What can we do?" Natalie pulled out her laptop. "Patricia's team is tracking down David's ex-fiancés, but they're hard to find. If you can use social media, mutual friends, any connection you have, we need to find these women and convince them to share their stories. Not publicly, not yet. Just to gather evidence." For hours they worked. Rachel used her connections in the tech industry to track down Jennifer Hartley, the ex-fiancée Patricia had mentioned. Simone, who worked in journalism, started making discreet calls to colleagues who might have heard rumors about David. Emma took on the task of documenting everything, screenshots of the video, the Instagram account, every message that had come in since the news broke. By midnight, they had leads on 3 other women who'd been involved with David. By 2 in the morning, Rachel had convinced Jennifer Hartley to get on a video call. Jennifer appeared on screen, a beautiful woman in her late 30s with tired eyes that Natalie recognized. The eyes of someone who'd been through hell and barely made it out. "I saw the news," Jennifer said quietly. "I almost called you, but I didn't know if you'd want to hear from me. No one wants to be part of the sad ex-girlfriends club." "I want to hear everything," Natalie said. "And I want to make sure he never does this to anyone else." Jennifer took a deep breath. "David and I were engaged for 6 months. He was perfect at first. Attentive, romantic, ambitious. My father liked him, thought he was a hard worker. David used that access to meet my father's business partners, to get insider information on investments. I didn't realize until later that he was using me as a walking contact list." "What happened?" "He got caught. Not by me, by my father's accountant. David had convinced me to add him to one of my trust fund accounts for wedding expenses. He'd been systematically transferring money out, small amounts at first, then larger ones. When confronted, he claimed I'd approved it, that we discussed using my money to invest in properties together. It was his word against mine, and my father didn't want the scandal, so we paid him to go away and sign an NDA. Do you still have the documentation?" Natalie asked. "Everything. The bank statements, the text messages, the NDA. I kept it all because some part of me knew he'd do this again. I knew he'd hurt someone else." "I need it," Natalie said. "All of it. And I need you to consider breaking your NDA. I know that's asking a lot, but—" "I'll do it," Jennifer interrupted. "I'll testify, I'll go public, whatever you need." That NDA was signed under duress, and my father's lawyers have already said it probably wouldn't hold up in court if challenged. I didn't come forward before because I was ashamed, because I didn't want to be the bitter ex. But if there's a chance to stop him, to warn other women, then yes. Absolutely yes. By dawn they had statements from 4 women, all with remarkably similar stories. David's pattern was clear. Target women with money and connections, embed himself in their lives, exploit their resources, and then either marry them or orchestrate a profitable exit. Natalie should have been exhausted, but she felt electrified, powered by something beyond caffeine and adrenaline. She felt purposeful. For the first time since seeing that video, she knew exactly what she needed to do. At 7 in the morning, she received a call from an unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Natalie, it's David." His voice, the voice that had once made her heart race, now made her stomach turn. "I have nothing to say to you," she said coldly. "Please just listen. I know you're hurt and you have every right to be. But that video, it's not the whole story. Claire and I, we made a mistake, but it's over now. I love you, Natalie. I want to marry you. We can get past this if you just..." "If I just what? Forgive you? Pretend it never happened? Show up at our engagement party tonight and smile for the cameras while everyone whispers about my cheating fiancé? I thought we could cancel the party," David said, and she heard the calculation in his voice. "Give everyone time to calm down, let the gossip die, and then move forward quietly. My father's already spoken to some key people." Explained that the video was taken out of context. Taken out of context? Natalie laughed. "Is that really the best you could come up with? Natalie, please. If you love me at all, if our 3 years together meant anything, don't do this. Don't throw away our future over one mistake." "One mistake? David, I know about Jennifer. I know about the other women. I know about the money you've been stealing, the connections you've been exploiting. This isn't a mistake. This is a pattern. This is who you are." The silence on the other end was profound. When David spoke again, his voice had changed, the charming facade stripped away to reveal something colder beneath. "If you come after me, you'll regret it. My father has the best lawyers in the city. We'll bury you in litigation, destroy your reputation, make sure you never work in healthcare again. Is that really what you want?" "Threaten me again," Natalie said softly. "Please. I'm recording this call. And I'd love to add witness intimidation to the list of your crimes." She heard him suck in a breath. "You're recording. See you at the engagement party tonight, David. I hope you're ready to explain yourself to 200 people." She hung up, her hands shaking but her resolve firm. Emma looked at her with something like awe. "Did you really record that?" "Every word," Natalie confirmed, holding up her phone where the recording app was still running. "Patricia said we'd need evidence of his character. I think we just got it." The engagement party was in 12 hours. And Natalie Morgan was ready for war. What will happen when Natalie faces David in front of 200 guests? Will Claire show up to defend herself? And what other secrets about David's past are about to be revealed? The ultimate confrontation is coming, and no one will escape unscathed. Part 2. Heartbreak and Revenge. The calm before the storm. The grand ballroom of the Manhattan Plaza Hotel had been transformed into a winter wonderland. Exactly as Natalie had planned 6 months ago, when she was still a woman in love, still a woman who believed in happily ever after. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across white roses and silver decorations. A 12-piece orchestra was set up in the corner. The custom cocktails, David's Manhattan and Natalie's Cosmopolitan, were being prepared by 3 bartenders who had no idea they were serving drinks named after a relationship that no longer existed. Natalie stood in the bridal suite, staring at herself in the floor-length mirror. She'd chosen her outfit carefully. A floor-length crimson dress that hugged her curves and commanded attention, paired with the diamond earrings her grandmother had left her. Not white, not innocent, red, the color of passion and blood and warning. Patricia stood behind her, reviewing notes on her tablet. The AV team has everything ready. When you give the signal, they'll cut the music and display the presentation on all 4 screens around the ballroom. The information is airtight: bank records, testimony from David's exes, the video evidence, copies of the forged documents from the Hamptons property. He won't be able to talk his way out of this. What if people don't believe it? Natalie asked, voicing the fear that had been gnawing at her all day. What if they think I'm just a scorned woman making things up? They won't, Patricia assured her. Because we have paper trails, witness testimony, and David's own recorded admission from this morning. But more importantly, we have his pattern. One ex-girlfriend could be dismissed as bitter. 4 women with identical stories? That's evidence. Emma entered the room, stunning in a silver gown. Guests are starting to arrive. I just saw David's father talking to the mayor in the lobby. This is going to be quite the audience. Good, Natalie said, surprised by the steadiness in her own voice. Let them all watch. Simone rushed in, phone in hand. You need to see this. Claire just posted on Instagram. Natalie took the phone and read Claire's post. Sometimes the truth is more complicated than it seems. Sometimes people we love hurt us in ways they don't understand. But I take full responsibility for my actions, and I'm prepared to face the consequences. To my best friend. I'm sorry doesn't cover it, but it's all I have left to offer. The comments were already flooding in, some supportive, some brutal, most just confused. She's trying to get ahead of the story, Rachel observed, reading over Natalie's shoulder. Make herself sympathetic before you can control the narrative. Let her try, Natalie said, handing back the phone. Nothing she posts on social media will change what happened. Is she coming tonight? Her name is on the guest list, Emma confirmed. Whether she has the nerve to actually show up is another question. A knock on the door interrupted them. Natalie's mother, Elizabeth Morgan, entered in an elegant navy gown, her expression carefully neutral. Natalie, darling, we need to talk. Mom, I don't have time. Make time, Elizabeth said firmly, closing the door behind her. When they were alone, her mother's composure cracked slightly. Your father and I heard the rumors. About David and Claire. About what you're planning to do tonight. And, Natalie asked, keeping her voice steady. And we're asking you to reconsider. Yes, what David did was terrible. Yes, you have every right to be angry. But publicly humiliating him at what's supposed to be a celebration of your engagement? Darling, that's not who we are. That's not how the Morgan family handles problems. Natalie felt something cold settle in her chest. How should I handle it, Mom? Quietly cancel the wedding? Pretend it never happened? Let David and Claire move on with their lives while I'm left to pick up the pieces. I'm asking you to think about your reputation, Elizabeth said. Once you do this, you can't take it back. People will talk. They'll say you were vindictive, that you couldn't let go gracefully. Is that really how you want to be remembered? I'd rather be remembered as a woman who stood up for herself than a woman who let herself be used and said nothing. Her mother sighed. Your father has already spoken to David's father. They're willing to compensate you generously for the embarrassment. They're trying to buy my silence, Natalie interrupted. Just like they did with Jennifer Hartley and God knows how many other women. I'm not interested in being paid off. Natalie, please. Think about your future. Your career at the hospital. Your father's position on the board. This kind of scandal could affect all of us. The words hit like a slap. Natalie looked at her mother, really looked at her, and saw a woman more concerned with social standing than her daughter's pain. Get out, Natalie said quietly. Excuse me. I said get out. If you're more worried about what people will think than the fact that your daughter was conned and betrayed, then I don't want you here. You can go sit with David's family and protect your precious reputation. But don't expect me to sacrifice my truth to make you comfortable. Elizabeth's face paled. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more in my life. Now please leave. I have a party to attend. Her mother stood frozen for a moment, then turned and walked out without another word. The door closed with a quiet click that sounded like finality. Emma returned immediately, having clearly been listening outside. Are you okay? No, Natalie admitted. But I will be. After tonight, everything will be different. For what it's worth, Emma said, taking her hand. I'm proud of you. What you're doing, it's brave. It's right. And I'll be standing next to you the entire time. Natalie squeezed her sister's hand. Thank you. That means more than you know. Patricia checked her watch. It's time. Are you ready? Natalie took one last look in the mirror. The woman staring back at her was stronger than the one who'd opened that champagne in the penthouse yesterday. She'd been broken, but she'd refused to stay broken. She'd been betrayed, but she wouldn't be silent. I'm ready, she said. Let's go. The party begins. The ballroom was already filled with guests when Natalie made her entrance. Conversation stopped mid-sentence as people turned to look at her. Their expressions a mixture of curiosity, sympathy, and barely concealed gossip. She could hear the whispers following her like a wave. That's her. The one from the video. I heard she's still going through with the wedding. No, I heard she's canceling everything tonight. Poor thing. Humiliated in front of everyone. Natalie kept her head high and her expression serene. Years of etiquette training kicking in automatically. She smiled at the guests, accepted their greetings, and played the role of gracious host even as her heart hammered against her ribs. David was across the room, surrounded by his groomsmen and his father, Richard Ashford, a silver-haired man with the kind of commanding presence that came from old money and older power. David looked handsome in his custom tuxedo, his expression carefully arranged to show just the right amount of contrition and confusion, the wronged party who couldn't understand why his beloved was overreacting. When he saw Natalie, his eyes widened slightly. He started to move toward her, but Richard's hand on his arm stopped him. Good. Let them worry. Let them wonder what she was planning. Claire arrived 20 minutes later, and the whispers intensified. She'd chosen an understated beige dress, her hair pulled back in a severe bun, her makeup minimal, clearly trying to look apologetic and small. She hovered near the entrance, not quite brave enough to enter fully, not quite willing to leave. Natalie's father, Thomas Morgan, approached her with a champagne flute in hand. Unlike her mother, he looked genuinely conflicted. Natalie, he said quietly, I know I'm supposed to give a toast tonight. What exactly am I supposed to say? Tell the truth, Dad. That's all any of us should do. He studied her face. Your mother says you're planning something. Something that will embarrass the family. I'm planning to tell people what David did to me. If that embarrasses anyone, it should be him, not us. Thomas sighed. You're right. I know you're right. But your mother cares more about appearances than justice, Natalie finished. I know, but I'm not like her. I can't pretend everything is fine when it's not. Her father looked old suddenly, tired in a way she'd never seen before. I should have protected you better. Should have done more due diligence on David before welcoming him into the family. This is partly my fault. The admission surprised her. Dad, let me finish, he interrupted gently. I've spent my career advising people to be careful with their trust, to verify everything, to never take things at face value. But when it came to my own daughter, I didn't follow my own advice. I wanted you to be happy, and I let that cloud my judgment. So whatever you're planning to do tonight, I'll support you. Even if your mother doesn't. Natalie felt tears prick her eyes. Thank you. Just promise me one thing, Thomas said. Make sure you're doing this for the right reasons. Not just revenge but justice. Not just anger but truth. Can you promise me that? Natalie thought about the other women David had hurt, the pattern of deception and manipulation that would continue if someone didn't stop it. I promise. The orchestra began playing, signaling that dinner was about to be served. Guests moved toward their assigned tables, and Natalie saw David making his way toward her, his father close behind. Natalie, David said, his voice pitched to sound warm and slightly wounded. Can we talk? Please. Just 5 minutes in private. Anything you want to say to me you can say here, Natalie replied coolly. Richard Ashford stepped forward, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. Natalie, I understand you're upset. My son made a terrible mistake. But surely we can resolve this like adults, without making a scene in front of all these people. A scene? Natalie repeated. Is that what you call it when someone tells the truth? I call it unnecessary drama, Richard said, his tone hardening. David has apologized. He's willing to make amends. But if you insist on pursuing this vendetta, you should know that my family has considerable resources. We can make your life very difficult. Is that a threat, Mr. Ashford? It's a promise, he said smoothly. My son's reputation is important to his business, and I won't let you destroy it over a momentary indiscretion. Natalie smiled, and she saw both men flinch slightly at the expression. Your son's reputation is built on lies and manipulation. I'm not destroying it. I'm simply revealing what was always there. Natalie, please. David tried again, reaching for her hand. I love you. What happened with Claire, it was a mistake, a moment of weakness. But it's you I want to marry. It's you I've always wanted. Can't we move past this? She pulled her hand away. Do you really think I'm that naive? That I don't know about Jennifer Hartley? About the other women? About the money you've been stealing, the lies you've been telling? David's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. But don't worry. Everyone else will know too. Very soon. She walked away from them, heading toward the stage where the band was set up. Patricia gave her a subtle nod from across the room. The AV team was in position. Everything was ready. Natalie picked up a microphone, and the room gradually fell silent. Good evening, everyone, she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Continue 14:22. Thank you all for coming tonight. I know you were expecting to celebrate an engagement, to toast to love and future happiness. And I'm sorry to disappoint you, but that's not what's going to happen. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. David started toward the stage, but Patricia stepped in front of him, flanked by two security guards Natalie hadn't even known she'd hired. Stay where you are, Mr. Ashford, Patricia said quietly. You'll want to hear this. Natalie continued. 2 days ago, I discovered that my fiancé, David Ashford, has been having an affair with my best friend, Claire Bennett, for the past 8 months. This included the 2 months before he proposed to me, and continued throughout our entire engagement. The room erupted. Gasps, shocked whispers, a few people pulling out their phones. But that's not all, Natalie said, her voice rising above the noise. I also discovered that this is a pattern for David. He targets women with money and connections, embeds himself in their lives, exploits their resources, and then moves on to the next target. I am the 4th woman he's done this to that we know of. There may be more. This is slander. Richard Ashford shouted. Turn off that microphone. It's not slander if it's true, Natalie replied calmly. And I have proof. If everyone could please direct your attention to the screens around the room. The lights dimmed, and Patricia's presentation began. Bank statements showing David's transfers from Natalie's accounts. Text messages between David and Vanessa. Video testimony from Jennifer Hartley and 2 other ex-girlfriends, each telling remarkably similar stories. Forged documents from the Hamptons property showing David had listed himself as sole owner despite Natalie paying for half. And finally, the recording from this morning, David's voice clear and threatening. If you come after me, you'll regret it. My father has the best lawyers in the city. We'll bury you in litigation, destroy your reputation. Make sure you never work in healthcare again. The silence when the presentation ended was absolute. Every eye in the room was fixed on David, who stood frozen, his face ashen. Richard Ashford looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, Natalie continued, I'm sharing this not just to embarrass David Ashford, though I won't lie and say that's not a small bonus. I'm sharing this because he's a predator, and predators rely on their victims staying silent. As long as we're too embarrassed or ashamed to speak up, men like David will continue to hurt people. So I'm speaking up. Not just for me, but for every woman he's hurt, and every woman he might hurt in the future. She set down the microphone and walked off the stage. The room remained silent for another moment, then erupted into chaos. People surrounded David, demanding explanations. Others approached Natalie with expressions of support and admiration. The mayor, who'd been talking to Richard earlier, was now conspicuously absent. Emma appeared at Natalie's side, pulling her into a fierce hug. You did it. You actually did it. I did, Natalie said, and felt something release in her chest. Not satisfaction exactly, but relief. The truth was out. She'd said what needed to be said. Patricia joined them, a satisfied smile on her face. 4 women have already approached me wanting to know how they can get involved in legal action against David. I think we're looking at a class action lawsuit. Also, 3 journalists have asked for interviews. What about David? Natalie asked. His father is trying to do damage control, but it's not going well. Someone already leaked your presentation to social media. It's going viral. By tomorrow, David Ashford will be the most infamous con artist on the East Coast. Natalie looked across the room and saw David in a corner, isolated now, his groomsmen having quietly distanced themselves. He looked small, suddenly ordinary, stripped of the charm and charisma that had made him seem so appealing. Claire had disappeared entirely, Probably slipped out during the chaos. What happens now? Emma asked. Now, Patricia said. We file the lawsuits, press charges where applicable, and make sure David Ashford never has the opportunity to do this to anyone else. And me? Natalie asked. What do I do? You live your life, Patricia said simply. You move forward. You don't let this define you. As if on cue, Natalie's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I saw what you did tonight. I'm one of David's victims from 5 years ago. He told me I was crazy when I tried to expose him, and no one believed me. But I believe you and I want to help. Thank you for being brave enough to speak up. Then another message. You're a hero. Seriously. Thank you. And another. My sister was scammed by someone like David. Seeing you stand up tonight gave me hope that maybe she can get justice too. The messages kept coming, dozens of them, from women she'd never met, sharing their stories of manipulation and betrayal, thanking her for giving them the courage to speak up. Natalie felt tears spill over, but they weren't tears of pain this time. They were tears of purpose, of connection, of knowing that her pain had been transformed into something meaningful. I think, she said slowly, I think I want to start a foundation to help women who've been victims of romantic fraud, to provide legal resources, counseling support, to make sure no one has to face this alone. Emma's eyes lit up. That's perfect. And I'll help. We all will. Patricia nodded approvingly. That's exactly the kind of response David would never expect. He thought breaking you would destroy you. Instead, you're using it to build something that will help thousands of people. Across the room, Thomas Morgan approached them, his expression grave. Natalie, I need to tell you something. David and his father just left. But before they did, Richard threatened to sue for defamation and malicious prosecution. Let him try, Natalie said calmly. We have evidence for everything we presented. He'll lose. I know, but it's going to get ugly. Are you prepared for that? Natalie thought about the women who'd messaged her, about Jennifer and the others who'd suffered in silence, about every future victim she was potentially preventing. I'm prepared, she said, for whatever comes next. And she meant it. David Ashford had broken her heart, but he'd also inadvertently given her something else. A purpose, a mission, a reason to transform her pain into power. The engagement party was over, but Natalie's real work was just beginning. But David isn't going down without a fight. As his world crumbles, he'll do anything to salvage his reputation, even if it means destroying Natalie completely. And Claire? She's been mysteriously silent, but that's about to change in ways no one expects. Part 3. The ultimate payback. The aftermath. The morning after the engagement party, Natalie woke up to find herself famous. Not celebrity famous, but internet famous, the kind where your face is everywhere, your story is being shared by thousands, and strangers have very strong opinions about your life. #Natalie Morgan was trending on Twitter. TikTok was full of videos analyzing her presentation, with young women praising her courage and older generations debating whether public humiliation was ever appropriate. News outlets from CNN to the New York Post had picked up the story, with headlines ranging from "Scorned Fiancé's Epic Takedown Goes Viral" to "Romance Scammer Exposed at His Own Engagement Party." Natalie sat in her apartment, scrolling through article after article, trying to process that she was the subject of all this attention. Emma was asleep on her couch, having refused to leave her alone last night. Patricia had called 3 times already, fielding interview requests and legal inquiries. Her phone rang again. This time it was a number she recognized, her mother. "Hello, Mom," Natalie answered cautiously. "Have you seen the news?" Elizabeth's voice was tight, controlled. "We're all over it. Your father's colleagues are calling. The hospital board is concerned about the publicity. Natalie, this is exactly what I warned you about." "I know. Do you? Because right now, the Morgan name is associated with scandal and tabloid drama. Your father's trying to manage the fallout, but..." "But what, Mom?" Natalie interrupted. "But I should have stayed quiet? Let David get away with it? Prioritize the family image over my own dignity?" There was a long pause. Then, unexpectedly, her mother's voice cracked. "I'm angry at you for putting us through this. But I'm more angry at myself for caring more about appearances than your well-being. Your father told me what you said yesterday, and he was right to be ashamed of me. I was so worried about what people would think that I forgot to ask if you were okay. Natalie felt something soften in her chest. I wasn't okay, Mom. I'm still not. But I'm getting there. I know. I saw the video of your speech last night. You were magnificent, Natalie. Terrifying but magnificent. Your grandmother would have been proud. She never did care much for playing it safe. Thank you, Natalie said quietly. That means more than you know. I'm still your mother, even when I'm a terrible one. So let me give you some advice. Whatever David does next, and he will do something, don't face it alone. You have family who love you, even if we're imperfect and occasionally prioritize the wrong things. Use us. Let us help. After they hung up, Natalie felt a weight lift slightly. Her relationship with her mother might never be perfect, but at least it was honest now. That was something. Patricia called again, and this time Natalie answered. Good morning, warrior, Patricia said cheerfully. How are you holding up? I'm viral, Natalie said wryly. There are memes about me. Actual memes. One of them shows David's face superimposed on a clown with the caption, "When you underestimate your fiancé's PowerPoint skills." Patricia laughed. I've seen that one. My favorite is the TikTok where they recreate your entire presentation using their cats. But listen, I have news. The Manhattan DA's office called. They want to open an investigation into David's financial activities. Apparently, your presentation caught the attention of some white-collar crime prosecutors. That was fast. When something goes this viral, authorities tend to pay attention. They don't want to look like they're ignoring obvious fraud. Also, we've been contacted by 6 more women who claim David scammed them. And Natalie? One of them is the daughter of a state senator. Natalie sat up straighter. Seriously? Seriously? She wants to press charges. With her father's political influence and your public documentation of David's pattern, we have a real shot at criminal prosecution, not just civil lawsuits. What about David? Has he responded? Patricia's tone darkened. That's the other thing I need to tell you. David's father hired Cromwell and Associates, the most aggressive defense firm in New York. They're known for destroying opposing witnesses, digging up dirt, and making trials as painful as possible for accusers. They've already issued a statement calling your presentation a malicious fabrication by a mentally unstable woman who couldn't accept rejection. Natalie felt ice in her veins. Mentally unstable? It's their standard playbook. Discredit the victim, question her motives, paint her as vindictive and unreliable. We expected this. The good news is we have testimony from multiple women, extensive documentation, and David's own recorded threats. They can call you unstable all they want, but facts don't care about their spin. What do I need to do? First, don't engage with any media without my approval. They'll try to twist your words. Second, document everything, every threat, every message, every interaction with David or his representatives. Third, prepare yourself for a fight. This won't be quick or easy. David's father has money and connections, and they're going to use both. I can handle it, Natalie said, surprised to find she meant it. I know you can. Oh, and one more thing. Claire Bennett's lawyer called. She wants to meet with you. Natalie's stomach tightened. Why? She didn't say. But I think Claire realizes she's in a very precarious position. She was complicit in David's deception, and several of the women we've spoken to mentioned seeing her with David at various points. She's not just the other woman anymore. She's potentially a co-conspirator. When does she want to meet? Tomorrow afternoon. My office. I'll be there, obviously, and you don't have to agree to anything. But it might be worth hearing what she has to say. After the call ended, Natalie stood at her window, looking out at the city. Somewhere out there, David was planning his counterattack. Somewhere, Claire was preparing her defense. And somewhere, women she'd never met were finding the courage to share their own stories of being deceived and manipulated. This was bigger than her broken engagement now. This was about changing the narrative around romantic fraud, about refusing to let perpetrators hide behind shame and silence. Her phone buzzed with an email from the hospital where she worked as a research coordinator. Her supervisor wanted to meet, to discuss the recent publicity and its impact on the institution. Natalie's heart sank. This was what her mother had warned about: consequences beyond David's downfall. The cost of truth. The meeting at Mercy General Hospital was scheduled for the next morning, in the office of Dr. Harold Pemberton, the chief of research and Natalie's ultimate boss. She'd worked at the hospital for 5 years, had contributed to groundbreaking studies on cardiac care, and had always received excellent evaluations. None of that seemed to matter now. Dr. Pemberton sat behind his massive desk, flanked by 2 representatives from Human Resources and the hospital's legal counsel. The message was clear before anyone spoke. This was not a friendly conversation. "Dr. Morgan," Pemberton began. He never called her doctor despite her PhD in public health. The use of her title now felt ominous. "I'm sure you're aware that the hospital has been receiving considerable attention due to your recent public disclosures." "I'm aware," Natalie said calmly. "The board has concerns. Mercy General has a reputation to maintain, and association with tabloid-style drama doesn't align with our institutional values." "With all due respect, Dr. Pemberton, I didn't create drama. I expose fraud and manipulation. There's a difference." The legal counsel leaned forward. "The concern isn't about the validity of your claims, Dr. Morgan. It's about the manner in which you chose to make them public. An engagement party with media present, viral videos, social media attention. This isn't how professionals typically handle personal disputes. It's also not how professionals typically handle systemic fraud," Natalie countered. "David Ashford wasn't just my fiancé. He used his connection to this hospital, through me, to meet donors, to gain introductions to the board, to present himself as someone trustworthy. Several of the women he targeted were connected to medical institutions. This was professional misconduct, not just a personal dispute." One of the HR representatives spoke up. "Nevertheless, the hospital's policy is clear about employees who bring negative publicity to the institution. We're not terminating you." "How generous," Natalie murmured. "But we are placing you on paid administrative leave pending the resolution of the legal matters surrounding Mr. Ashford. Once the situation has been adequately resolved and public interest has died down, we can discuss your return." "In other words," Natalie said, "you're punishing me for being a victim who spoke up." "We're protecting the institution," Pemberton said firmly.